What if the one thing you turn to for comfort is actually the very thing silently destroying your brain? You didn't plan for this. Maybe it started innocently. Just one click, just one video. You were curious. Everyone does it, right? But now it's different. You try to stop and can't. What once gave you a thrill now feels like a trap you can't escape, and you're not alone. Behind closed doors, millions are struggling. They feel the same guilt, the same shame, the same helpless pull to go back, again and again. The scary part? Most don't even realize what's really happening to them. But science does. This isn't just about morality. This is about your brain, rewired by overstimulation, flooded by dopamine, numb to real intimacy, and trapped in a cycle that's hard to break. What started as entertainment has now become a silent addiction, one that leads to anxiety, low libido, broken relationships, and even depression. Some still say porn addiction isn't real, but neuroscience says otherwise. In this summary of Your Brain on Porn by Gary Wilson, we'll uncover the cold, uncomfortable truth behind how porn changes your brain and how you can undo the damage. You'll learn how this addiction forms, how it steals your motivation and rewrites your desires, and most importantly, how you can take back control through a process called rebooting. So if you've ever wondered why you feel stuck, why real connection doesn't excite you anymore, or how to finally feel like yourself again, keep listening. This might just be the beginning of your freedom. What are we dealing with? Sex is a natural and powerful human drive. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's deeply rooted in our biology and essential for the survival of the human species. If our ancestors hadn't engaged in sex, humanity would have vanished long ago. For human beings, sex is not only about pleasure, but also about reproduction. It's nature's way of continuing life. Unlike animals who primarily engage in sex for reproduction, humans have evolved to experience sex not just as a biological need, but as a source of intimacy, pleasure, and emotional connection. However, as society progressed and technology advanced, our relationship with sexuality began to change. One of the most drastic shifts came with the rise of pornography. Pornography has transformed sex from a shared, intimate experience into a highly accessible, solitary activity. Masturbation, once a private act, became increasingly tied to porn consumption. While masturbation alone isn't inherently harmful, pairing it with constant porn viewing creates a problematic cycle. Over time, porn addiction begins to reshape your desires and your brain. Many men, especially in today's digital world, suffer from various forms of sexual dysfunction because of excessive porn use. Their libido, the natural sexual energy, starts to decline. They find it difficult to get aroused or maintain an erection, particularly during real-life intimacy. What once brought pleasure now feels dull or even frustrating. But how does this addiction take root? What makes porn so hard to resist? It begins with novelty. In earlier times, people encountered sexual images through printed magazines. These visuals would trigger arousal and stir the imagination, often directed at a crush, celebrity, or someone they admired. However, this excitement would fade quickly once the mind was distracted. Then came the era of X-rated films, which were limited to video stores and tucked away in restricted sections. Access was difficult, especially for minors. But everything changed with the internet. Dial-up connections gave users the ability to download porn, though slowly and often with the risk of computer viruses. Still, it was a beginning. Soon after, high-speed internet exploded onto the scene, and with it, unlimited access to streaming porn. This gave rise to tube sites, platforms dedicated solely to adult content, allowing anyone with an internet connection to explore endless fantasies. Now users can access thousands of pornographic videos instantly. The content is diverse, extreme, and constantly evolving. Most clips are short, designed to deliver quick hits of stimulation. But because each clip provides only a brief burst of excitement, viewers hop from one video to another, chasing stronger, more intense experiences. This cycle builds on itself. The brain begins to crave the thrill of novelty, the constant dopamine hits that porn delivers. It forms a memory of this pleasure and pushes you to come back for more. The more you watch, the more your preferences change. You start exploring different genres, often ones you never imagined you'd be interested in. This massive volume of porn affects your brain through a process called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on repeated experiences. Just as we can learn new languages or habits, we can also train our brain to respond to unhealthy patterns. For some, real intimacy or regular sex no longer brings satisfaction. Only extreme, graphic porn does. In essence, porn rewires your brain to seek artificial stimulation instead of real connection. Natural rewards like love, affection, and real intimacy start to feel dull in comparison. The brain begins to believe that watching porn is the ultimate source of pleasure. This is especially dangerous for teenagers and young adults whose brains are still developing and are more sensitive to addiction. The long-term effects can be devastating. Many experience delayed or absent orgasms or lose interest in their partners altogether. Some relationships fall apart because one partner becomes emotionally and physically detached. Research links porn addiction with depression, anxiety, social isolation, and other mental health struggles. Let's look at Paul's story. Paul was once an energetic, social, and intelligent boy with a happy childhood. But at the age of 11, he stumbled upon porn, and what started as curiosity turned into a dangerous habit. Over time, he craved more extreme content, watching genres like dominatrix, animal-themed, and even bizarre, niche porn. This gradually led him into depression and anxiety. For 15 years, Paul lived in isolation. He avoided people, stopped playing sports, and struggled academically. He would lock himself in his room for hours, filled with anger and frustration. At times, he even considered ending his life. Porn addiction doesn't just affect your sex life, it impacts your ability to focus, remember things, and manage impulses. Researchers have found that excessive internet use, especially for porn, is closely linked to symptoms like memory loss, poor concentration, and even ADHD-like behaviors. People who compulsively use their phones or browse adult content for hours are more likely to suffer from anxiety, depression, and personality disorders. Another example is Greg. Once he got access to high-speed internet, he began watching porn frequently. The ease of access made it almost impossible for him to resist. He would masturbate multiple times a day just to relieve stress or fall asleep. Eventually, it became a coping mechanism, something he depended on. Soon, Greg needed to watch porn even before being intimate with his wife, just to feel aroused. But even then, he found regular sex boring. Porn was the only thing that gave him excitement. Eventually, Greg started experiencing erectile dysfunction and delayed ejaculation. Even after having oral or vaginal sex, he didn't feel satisfied. His brain had been rewired. Porn had become the new standard for pleasure, and real intimacy no longer compared. Wanting Run Amok. As we've already seen, watching porn regularly can feel highly rewarding to the brain. The internet offers an endless variety of pornographic content. That variety is precisely what makes it so addictive, because there's always something new to see, something fresh to stimulate the mind. This constant novelty keeps users hooked for hours, yet they never feel full or satisfied. Porn doesn't bore them. It feeds an endless hunger. For addicts, porn becomes a trigger for the brain's reward system. Watching it causes the release of dopamine, a powerful neurochemical responsible for feelings of craving, pleasure, and motivation. This chemical is the primary reason behind any addiction, whether to drugs, alcohol, or porn. Just like during sex, dopamine floods the brain when you watch porn, urging you to seek more of the same thrill. When an action brings a pleasurable reward, we naturally repeat it. For example, let's say you watched porn for the first time, and you felt an intense rush of pleasure. That dopamine hit told your brain, this feels good, so you watch it again and again. Soon, your brain starts associating porn with reward, and an addictive loop is born. Over time, the dopamine levels rise not just from the pleasure itself, but from the anticipation of pleasure. In simple terms, your brain starts pushing you to chase more and more excitement. This leads you to seek bolder, more graphic content each time. Research shows that the more thrilling and unpredictable the reward, the more intense the craving becomes. But there's a hidden danger here. As you overstimulate your brain, it begins to dull its response. Just like eating too much chocolate eventually makes you sick of it, your brain starts becoming numb to the same porn scenes. You get bored, and boredom drives you to look for even more extreme content, hoping to feel the same excitement again. This relentless chase causes both chemical and physical changes in the brain, changes that are incredibly hard to reverse. One of the biggest problems with porn is how far it strays from reality. Viewers begin fantasizing about having sex with multiple partners at once, something rarely mirrored in real life. Our ancestors, for thousands of years, evolved to bond with one partner at a time. But porn creates a fantasy world where pleasure is limitless, detached from emotional connection or commitment. Porn clips are carefully designed to overhype and exaggerate sexual stimulation. Scientists call this supernormal stimuli. First, novelty offers excitement and anticipation, both of which drive up dopamine. Second, the physical features in porn, oversized breasts, exaggerated genitals, create unrealistic expectations. Many viewers develop inferiority complexes, thinking they'll never measure up. Third, porn can give the illusion of education. People watch and believe they're learning how to have sex, but what they're absorbing is artificial behavior, not real intimacy. Over time, this leads to two major issues: sexual conditioning and addiction. In sexual conditioning, your brain starts linking arousal not to a real partner, but to a screen. You begin to struggle with real-life intimacy. For example, when someone can't get aroused naturally, they often mentally replay porn scenes to reach climax. This becomes the only way they know how to experience pleasure. The brain learns this pattern. It recognizes actions like typing in your favorite porn site as the beginning of a reward loop. As soon as you begin that action, dopamine starts rising, even before you've watched anything. Take the story of Jamie. He became particularly aroused by porn videos where women appeared to enjoy being ejaculated on the face. Over time, his brain began to accept this as a normal sexual experience because it consistently excited him. But this normalization can be dangerous. Eventually, the brain gets so used to extreme content that anything less feels dull. What was once shocking now becomes standard. This leads to the second outcome: addiction. Watching excessive porn makes the brain dependent. Scientists have found that even drug use works in a similar way. When addicted, the brain undergoes 3 critical changes, often called the addiction triad. 1. Cravings. You feel a constant urge to watch porn and satisfy yourself. 2. Loss of control. You can't regulate how much time you spend watching. 3. Consequences. Other areas of your life, physical, emotional, social, financial, begin to suffer. Some researchers argue that porn addiction isn't a real addiction. They believe that only substances like alcohol or drugs can be truly addictive. But over 70 neuroscience studies on internet addiction have shown otherwise. The brains of porn addicts show the same types of changes as those addicted to drugs or alcohol. Dutch researchers have conducted studies on digital addictions and concluded that online erotica has the highest addictive potential among digital activities, even more than online gaming. One particular study revealed that porn usage also affects motivation and decision-making. The more porn you watch, the more gray matter you lose in the brain's striatum, the region responsible for both motivation and judgment. As gray matter shrinks, neural connections weaken, and that means you begin losing control over your decisions. You become more passive, numb, and desensitized. In simple terms, the more involved you become in porn, the less rewarding it feels. You feel numbed out. It becomes harder to feel pleasure, harder to reach orgasm. You need more effort to feel aroused, and soon, sex is no longer a natural desire. It becomes an obsession, a chase, an endless loop. Regaining control. The first and most important step in overcoming porn addiction is simple yet powerful: quit watching porn altogether. Give your brain a complete break from the overstimulating, unrealistic world of digital fantasies. This process is known as rebooting. Rebooting is about disconnecting from screens and reconnecting with real life. It means redirecting your attention from artificial pleasure to meaningful human interactions. The time you used to spend watching porn, you'll now use it to create, grow, and thrive. When you reboot, your brain begins to heal. It starts to relearn what true happiness feels like. Not the hollow, short-lived pleasure from a screen, but the deep satisfaction found in genuine moments, real relationships, and personal achievements. To reach that place, though, you have to remove porn entirely. Only then can your brain begin to find joy in real things again. Rebooting also weakens the urge, that intense craving that pulls you back to the addictive behavior. Over time, your willpower gets stronger. Even when temptation rises, you'll learn to stay in control. And most importantly, your stress levels begin to drop. When you're less stressed, your cravings lose their power. This method works by disrupting the neural pathways your brain developed during the addiction. Think of it as blurring the roads your mind once took toward porn. As those roads fade, your brain's sensitivity to natural pleasure begins to return. In other words, your brain will no longer release as much dopamine in response to porn, breaking the cycle of dependency. It won't happen overnight, but with persistence, your brain will stop associating porn with pleasure. You'll feel lighter, clearer, more in control. Eventually, you won't need porn to feel good. You'll make better decisions about how to use your free time, and you'll enjoy real peace without relying on artificial highs. Now you might ask, how do I quit something that's always available at my fingertips? The key is this: make access difficult. The easier something is to access, the more likely you are to use it. During your addiction, you likely built up cues, specific triggers that led to porn. To break free, remove those cues from your life. For example, change your environment. If you've spent countless hours watching porn alone on your phone, then it's time to become more social. Spend time with friends. Go outside. Pick up hobbies or creative projects that keep you engaged and active. Limit your phone use. The less time you spend alone with your device, the fewer chances you give your addiction to resurface. Apply the same strategy to your digital environment. Install porn blockers on your phone and computer. Use screen time restrictions. Take it a step further. Change the very setting where your addiction thrived. Replace the chair where you used to masturbate. If possible, replace your computer altogether. Every physical reminder can trigger relapse, so remove those reminders. Another helpful method is extinction training. This approach helps you break the mental link between your triggers and your response. You train yourself to interrupt the automatic behavior. Let's say you've always used your PC to watch porn. Every time you turn it on, your brain expects a reward. With extinction training, you might deliberately open a porn site, but immediately close it without watching anything. Doing this consistently weakens the link between your trigger, turning on the PC, and your response, watching porn. Over time, your brain stops associating that action with pleasure. Of course, this method doesn't work for everyone, especially if you tend to binge. In that case, focus even more on building your willpower. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Escaping any addiction is tough, and you don't have to do it alone. Support is vital. Many people find help in online forums and communities. Others turn to family, friends, or in-person support groups. Just remember, while online support can help, real-life support is more effective. Face-to-face connection brings accountability, empathy, and encouragement, the very things porn robs you of. Rebooting isn't just about quitting porn. It's about reclaiming your power, restoring your mind, and remembering what real life feels like. It's about finding joy, meaning, and connection again, without the screen. As you begin the rebooting process, one thing becomes clear. This journey isn't just about avoiding porn. It's about reclaiming your life through self-control and self-care. And to do that, you need to actively engage in habits that nourish your body, stimulate your mind, and restore your sense of purpose. Let's explore the key components of this healing journey. Exercise. Regular physical activity is one of the most powerful tools in your recovery. It not only strengthens your body, but also helps redirect your sexual energy. Exercise boosts your confidence and improves your overall health. Studies have shown that men under the age of 40 who exercise consistently experience better sexual performance and fewer erectile issues. But there's more. Exercise is a natural mood regulator. It increases dopamine in the brain, the very chemical that addiction hijacks. During the rebooting phase, when your dopamine levels may dip due to the absence of porn, exercise offers a healthy and powerful way to restore that balance. Get outdoors. Research confirms that spending time in nature can refresh your brain, boost creativity, and enhance your problem-solving abilities. For those recovering from porn addiction, outdoor activities reduce isolation and help prevent loneliness, one of the biggest triggers of relapse. Whether it's going for a walk, playing a sport, or simply breathing fresh air, the outdoors can be deeply therapeutic. Socializing. Human beings are wired for connection. When you isolate yourself, your mood suffers, and negative thoughts can creep in. That's often when people turn to porn for comfort, distraction, or a sense of control. But spending time with friends, attending social gatherings, or joining group activities can reduce cortisol, the stress hormone that weakens your immune system, and mental resilience. Real-life connection is a natural reward, and it's one of the best antidotes to addiction. Meditation and relaxation. Meditation is a powerful stress buster. It strengthens the frontal lobes of your brain, the region responsible for rational thinking, self-discipline, and impulse control, all of which are weakened by addiction. By practicing mindfulness and breathing exercises daily, you'll build the inner strength needed to resist urges and stay focused on your recovery goals. Creative hobbies and new skills. Developing a new hobby can be life-changing, whether it's learning a musical instrument, painting, writing, or gardening. Engaging in a creative pursuit keeps your mind occupied and away from harmful distractions. Especially during the early weeks of rebooting, when urges can be intense, keeping yourself busy is vital. However, be careful not to replace one addiction with another. Avoid overly stimulating hobbies like excessive gaming, gambling, or mindless scrolling on social media. These activities might feel rewarding at first, but they often lead back to the same patterns of escapism. Choose hobbies that challenge your mind and enrich your spirit. Signs that you're healing. The journey of rebooting is different for everyone, but there are some clear signs that your recovery is working. You begin to experience normal, healthy sexual responses again. Erections happen naturally, your libido returns to a balanced level, and you no longer feel the need for extreme or fetishized pornographic content. Your sexual preferences, once shaped by artificial media, begin to reset to more natural and realistic desires. You start feeling attracted to real people again. You enjoy flirting, intimacy, and romance. Not just the idea of sex, but the emotional connection it brings. If you're in a relationship, you may find yourself enjoying physical intimacy with your partner in ways that once felt dull or disconnected. Even morning erections, a sign of sexual health, return, showing that your body and brain are realigning. It's also crucial to understand the difference between sexual cravings and a natural need for release. If you can't masturbate without porn, that's a sign of psychological dependency. But if you feel aroused naturally, without external triggers, that's your body signaling a genuine, healthy sexual need. Conclusion. Let's begin with an important truth. Sexual desire is natural. It's part of being human. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's a biological drive tied to intimacy, bonding, and creating life. But porn addiction twists this natural drive into something harmful and unproductive. What was once a beautiful way to connect or build a family becomes a compulsive habit that's hard to break. As we've learned, porn addiction and compulsive masturbation are linked to a wide range of mental, emotional, and physical disorders. These effects aren't just imagined, they're real, and they're affecting millions of people across the world, especially young adults. One of the most important lessons from this journey is that porn addiction is real. It's not just a bad habit or a moral issue. Just like drugs or alcohol, pornography can hijack your brain, flooding it with unnatural levels of dopamine, making you chase endless excitement while slowly losing your grip on reality, relationships, and joy. And once something becomes addictive, it takes away your choice. Many people battling porn addiction suffer from anxiety, depression, restlessness, and social isolation. Their world starts shrinking. We also explored how dopamine plays a central role. Because your brain is like plastic, it adapts. The more your brain is exposed to artificial highs, the more it rewires itself to crave them. That's how addiction forms. Your brain learns to seek out what gives it reward, even if it's harmful in the long run. But here's the good news. Healing is possible. You've learned methods to break free, from rebooting to rewiring your environment, building self-control, and creating healthier habits. Yes, the process is hard, and yes, it will challenge you. Some people recover within months, others take years. But every effort matters. The ultimate goal is simple. Teach your brain to find joy in real life again. Step out of the fantasy and re-enter the present. Start exercising. Spend time with people. Relax your mind. Create something beautiful. Develop a passion. These small daily acts rebuild your sense of meaning and connection, far more than any screen ever could. Countless people around the world have already reclaimed their lives through rebooting. You can too. You can escape the grip of addiction and rediscover happiness in real relationships, real connection, and real intimacy. Your urges won't control you anymore, you'll control them. Even if you've been addicted for years, even if it feels impossible right now, you can come back. You can heal your brain. You can feel attraction, desire, and satisfaction in healthy, natural ways. At first, it may feel difficult, but don't give up. Keep going. Trust the process. Be patient with yourself, because when you do, you'll feel something you may not have felt in a long time. Freedom. The freedom to choose, the freedom to love, the freedom to feel whole again. Thank you for listening to this summary of Your Brain on Porn by Gary Wilson. Remember, true freedom isn't about avoiding desire. It's about understanding it, mastering it, and choosing what truly brings meaning to your life. When you take control of your habits, you take control of your future. If this summary helped you reflect or gave you strength to move forward, please like the video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to the channel for more honest and empowering content like this. Let us know in the comments what part of this summary spoke to you the most. Your story matters, and you never know who you might inspire by sharing it. Stay tuned for more summaries that challenge, uplift, and transform. And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and take back control of your mind, your habits, and your life.